So we're going to be creating a setting to understand more about the origins of the summer holidays that we are going to be generating. And I want to get across the importance of a setting in how it influences a culture, and whether that culture develops a holiday based on something historical, religious, civic, militaristic, or it's a natural phenomenon, a weather pattern. If you live in the mountains and on the solstice you get a beam of light that touches one area, or oh shoot, do you all know the place I'm talking about? There's a place out in western United States where for like 3 days of the year, the way the sun shines over some mountains, I think it looks like a mountain lion crawling across the rocks. Do you know what I'm talking about? But I mean, we can get over to things like solar calendars, druidic things like what we believe Stonehenge was used for. Um, but I wanted to show this off in order to just provide a bit of inspiration, just a little bit of something here.
Splendidly drawn point to some features like Eisenmouth or Mount Mindalluin. Christopher uses offset lines on the shores, a really nice effect to illustrate the water. Even the parts that are kind of messy or imperfect, like the label for Mirkwood cutting through the forest, doesn't seem like it's wrong. The map is somehow cozy. It's busy and complex, in places hard to read, but it's also inviting. It's not so professional as to be cold. This is something that could have been made by hobbits, busily snacking in a warm hobbit hole while adding details and telling stories. And that's such a beautiful part of this, because the maps aren't something outside the universe of Middle Earth. They belong inside it. There are many places on the map that are rarely directly named and that play virtually no role in Frodo's story. There's the Ice Bay of Forechell, the hills of Evendim, the river Elefnui, and places we do know are alluded to with tantalizing subtext: Erebor, the Lonely Mountain. Here was of old the witch realm of Angmar, Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower. This feels like a map of a real world, but a real world with a story to tell.
So that's just a little bit here. I'll copy this over if you all want to watch the full video. That way we're attributing here to Mapster. And yes, Amon Ishtar, there can be many inspirations why events are celebrated. And much of that can be celebrated from what we learn of the lands in which we live. If you recall, when we were doing our summary, we were warming up, haha, to the concept of our real summer holidays. We saw many examples. Whoop, I went back too far here. There is just the solstice. It is a cosmic, a natural event. I mean, if you want to say that it is a pagan event, but it is also everyone everywhere has the longest day of the year. You have religious events, International St. John's Day. You have commercial events, Hallmark holidays, like National Ice Cream Month, National Bomb Pop Day. You have sporting events, like the big local sports event, Wimbledon, Midsummer Day. You have things where you're like, I don't know if this is necessarily observed or celebrated. It's, I guess, something to consider. Sidewalk Egg Frying Day. Who knew that it's on July 4th? I could have sworn there was another holiday to be celebrated on July 4th, but what do I know? You get into Tanabata or Obon, which was the theme for the summer coloring book events. But you also can see things in the summertime. Yes, this is a commercial holiday for National Freezer Pop Day, but something that, well, it's labeled as special interest. In all honesty, Nude Recreation Week doesn't sound so bad. It might be super duper hot and you need to cool off. Maybe it's that one special day, week, or whatever where it is culturally appropriate to modify your modesty. Um, does anyone actually have a teddy bear picnic or pick blueberries? Maybe not. But these are things to consider. What is ripening? What needs harvested in your world? Do people eat something as a custom? National Hot Dog Day. Let's keep going through here. We of course we had our U.S. Labor Day here in early September, and well, there's nothing else on this list until we're clearly into autumn, when daylight savings ends in early November. Amon Ishtar says, "My witch Matilda may love a teddy bear day." Or workshop roll. Um, well, we don't have a workshop roll called Castle Claws, but what I'll do, Led, if you're gonna stick around when we get to it here very soon, you can lock yourself into an aspect of our setting, and you can roll for it. But there's also just bank holidays, things around important animals to people. So there's many inspirations. We go back into history or religions that are no longer observed. We had Furinalia as part of Lucaria and Neptunalia. These were water-based celebrations. It is summertime. The crops need water. The people need water to grow, to live, to flourish. We come that goes into Consuelia as well. And then we also explored the historical but currently practiced through Hindu Adi Paruku, which is a monsoon festival. So this is an observation of a force of nature in the summertime. And you can find, it's a rainy season. If you go to Japan, Japan has their rainy season, and the rains in that season have their own special word, kind of like the Ferengi have 100 different names for rain on Ferengnor, their home planet, because it rains so much there. So they have a word for every type of rain possible. There's even kind of a scene about that in Forrest Gump. Um, but it's called plum rain in Japan because the water drops are kind of big and juicy like plums. Anyway, so we can read about real life things. Now, we do want to make original fantasy holidays and not just have something be a not Independence Day, a not Adi Paruku, a not Furinalia, a not National Naked Day, or something like that. Ferenginar, thank you, Sierra Echo. It looks like Bane is a practicing member of the faith of the Ferengi, who is following the rules of acquisition, the sacred texts of the Ferengi. So Bane, a prophet be unto you. Pardon. Pardon me. Yeah, exactly, Amon. Sometimes there's just such a big cultural tie that if only for one day, enemies can set their differences aside. So we wanted to come around with a way to personify our holidays. Now, that could be because an actual person, a historical or religious character, a figure of folklore, even who never existed, but everyone has adopted as a character. In the U.S., we have Uncle Sam. Talking about Christmas, you have Father Christmas or the Easter Bunny. we have these kind of personifications, these avatars for the holidays. So, you know what? I don't have any background music playing. Shame on me. What would be a good talking about summertime holidays? Oh, we're going to go to the Highlands. There we go. That's what we're doing. We're going to the Highlands, my friends. My bonny lads and lassies. So, using the core rule books, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Player's Handbook, we generated, also with the help of our Manual of Player Character Golems here, we generated 2 NPCs to act as inspiration, personification, or an actual figure around which we can base some kind of summertime holiday. And we did it. We did the same exercise 2 different ways. The first exercise, we filled in all of the NPC descriptors first, leaving all of this information out. Because you can apply just these descriptors to any character you'd like. Maybe as a storyteller, as a dungeon master, you already know that in your elven society, you're going to have an elf who needs to be the symbol of something. And so a lot of these details are already clear to you. But afterwards, because we were randomly generating these characters, we went through and we discovered that one of our personifications is an ancient female high elf wild magic sorcerer who is a pirate, or more specifically, a privateer. High strength, low int, perfect memory, speaks in rhyme or some other peculiar way. Now, if this is a holiday personification, what if this is simply a custom of the holiday is to write poetry? You know, we explored Tanabata in Japan, referenced as being a Japanese holiday. For Tanabata, if I'm recalling correctly, or you write messages that you can tie up and put on temples or lucky strands of bamboo. Well, kind of for Obon, which is celebrated later, Amon, in order to guide restless spirits, or, you know, as you've welcomed your ancestors, you can write the names of people who have passed, put them on lanterns, and send them out to sea. Rita Verp? Could be. I mean, that's a classic way of naming characters, too. Then, for our second NPC, we did the same exercise, except we started with this consideration, and after we already had more of the physical form built in our minds, we applied the characteristics, the who the character is, not just what the character is. Then we did the same thing by making villains, because not all holidays are caused by the good guys. Sometimes to remember a tragedy or something else. Many of you might know of a holiday, whether you celebrate it or not in your country, but for sure it's an autumnal holiday, not in the U.S., but there is a holiday after a villain in that country's history. But in this case, we did the same thing, where we just made the qualities first and then applied the physicality. Then we reversed it, and we made the physicality appear first, and we leveraged all of the details around this character from that origination as a way to show you different ways to approach the same concept you're trying to go after. you want to, without stressing your brain, you want to come up with compelling originations of some kind of a festival, a holiday, or whatever. And so step by step, without overdoing it, we're going to be continuing what we started. And tonight, we are going to make the location of these people. Now, to begin, and this is my method, by the way. Full disclaimer, this is not, I mean, this is available in your core handbooks. We're going to use the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. If you have those books available, crack them open and play along at home. You can follow the process. And I will be calling on you all out there to help me bring about this location. And I hope you'll find that it is inspirational and fun. And if you ever want to modify something, because what I do isn't enough, or it's too much, or I completely forgot something that you think is important, please use what I present to you as a starting location and grow from that. Trim what you need, add to whatever else you may desire. And you might even find... Hang on a second. You might even find that there are other books that can very specifically, and maybe with greater options or depth than even the core books, help you out with projects like this. Pardon me. But in order to keep our workshops as open and accessible to players new and old, I want to go back to the core books. That's because in 5th edition, bounded accuracy, as far as I know, is still a thing. And if we go back to the sources of the primary engine of the system, we're keeping things consistent and hopefully universal through any other supplements you may wish to include in your considerations for your world, your locale, your town, or whatever else. So, to get things started, I usually have two... there it is. I was wondering when Raven would jump on that. I usually include 2 different terrain types. Most of you out there, think about wherever it is that you live. And if we go over to the Player's Handbook... Pardon me. That is if my reader here can catch up. Mechanically, in Dungeons and Dragons, there are 8 different kinds of locales. Now, they can be interpreted. We can step sideways from some. Hi, Diadems. For instance, Arctic, does it just mean that you get cold winters? It doesn't necessarily mean that you need permafrost all year round, but that could be a locale as well. But think about wherever it is that you live. Are there 2 of these qualities that you say can make up the majority of your locale? It could be your town, your county, your state or province. It could even be just the country in which you live itself. So you mentioned Cleveland, Bane.
Rhyfenedig pedwar sgish hear drifenedig pedwar sgish heir drifenedig pedwar sgish heir drifenedig pedwar sgish heir drifenedig pedwar sgish heir drifenedig pedwar sgish heart.
All of the hearts to you, Ravenstar. Thank you very much for renewing your subscription. And don't forget, everyone, for subscribers and server boosters, next week I'm doing something special, not just for you all, but with you all on our Discord server. And of course, for all of you who do support the channel and subscribe, there's a way that I like to give back in thanks. This Saturday is going to be our giveaway of boxes of pre-painted minis. And that's a show of generosity back to all of you who have been able to set aside a little bit of money, whether it's a tier 1, 2, or even a 3 subscription, in order to support what this place is and what we do. So thank you for that. That means a lot to me. So Cleveland may very well be considered coastal. Now, it's on the shore of Lake Erie, not a saltwater coast. But Cleveland, we might consider coast and even Underdark. There's a salt mine that extends under the city and the lake, 2,000 feet below. And so maybe to you, Cleveland, because there's not a city location, though if you want to make a 9th location of urban or something, you can. But you might describe Cleveland as coast and Underdark. Some of you might live in an area where it's more open plains. So grassland and desert might be more the vibe of wherever it is that you live on the scale you're looking for. But still, you can consider at least 2 qualities. And that's what we're going to do. Now, Lead Snappin', if you're still here, you did redeem a workshop roll. So go ahead and type exclamation point 1D8 in chat. Also, Bang Fist, are you still around? All right, Lead Snappin' produced a 1, so Arctic is going to be our first terrain consideration. And of course, the reason why we're tying our setting to this is because there are mechanics for druids and or rangers that might play into an investigation taking place during the holiday, or the creatures you can find hunting as part of the festivities, or who knows, the berries that grow in the summertime. All right. Well, we may not have Bang Fist anymore, but for those of you who are still here and present, let me know in chat, and I would love to call on you. Or you may spend inspiration points to lock in one of these roles. Now, the weird locale is already claimed by Raven, so she'll roll that one. But if you see another, whatever quality, you can lock it in with your inspiration. Bane, would you please roll a 1d8 in chat? And we will ignore the result of a 1, because that has already been claimed, and I want 2 different biomes. No, I'm sure many people in Faerun would agree if Baldur's Gate sank into the sea, life would be a lot better in the Forgotten Realms. 3. Desert. Arctic desert. Now, what is this telling us? We might get very cold winters. Or we might have very short summers. Summertime, if we're in the Arctic Circle, we might only get maybe several days or weeks of summer, or at least summer-like weather. Diadems, you have at least some experience with this. Now, I don't know if you're that far north, but Diadems, what can you describe Can you describe summer around where you live? Led Snappin wants to roll for our form of government. And desert is not always hot and sandy. Deserts can be cold, as a place that is a desert is a place that does not have a lot of moisture. Stays daylight until 8 p.m. So even though summertime is when you should have the longest days of the year, I mean, in the height of summer, the sun's not going down here in Ohio until closer to 10 o'clock. And it's Rosa Banks. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the Hero Zone. And is summer... I don't know. Are you so far north that summertime is like 2 months, and then it goes back into earlier autumn and longer lasting spring? But as for the desert, it just means that there's not a lot of moisture. It could be because all the rain is caught up in a mountain somewhere, forms glaciers, and not a lot of it makes it over the mountain to where this settlement is. You can have very cold deserts. In fact, I believe the Gobi Desert in Mongolia is more of an Arctic desert, where it doesn't exactly get hot. It's very cold, but it is more of a desert because of the lack of rainfall. Up near Fairbanks and above, days are almost 23 hours. Summer lasts about 6 months, maybe 6. 6 months? Or what do you mean by 6 months, maybe 6? 5 or 6, okay. Yeah, so there, you might get super long days, but the rest of the year is a little out of tilt compared to where other people might live in your fantasy world. This can very much have an effect on the eating and gathering habits, the crafting habits, even the religious takes, the beliefs, whether they follow, a monotheistic god, it's a pantheon. It's more of an animistic religion or something along those lines. Of course, the constellations are going to be different for you than what other people in the world of your own fantasy world might see elsewhere. So these are all things to think about. All right, now, for our settlements, we're going to pop over to the Dungeon Master's Guide. And Led Snappin', I need you to roll a percentile die, or dice, and some people have a D100, and that's the command, ! 1D100. Or some people use percentile dice. 2D10s, one of them indicates the 10's position, the other indicates the 1's position. But Led Snappin', ! 1D100, please. All right, if Led Snappin' is not here, we are going to keep things moving. Oh, there he is. All right, 15. We have a confederacy, which, at least in the DMG here, is each individual city or town within the confederacy governs itself, but all contribute to a league or federation that promotes, at least in theory, the common good of all member states. Conditions and attitudes toward the central government vary from place to place within the confederacy. The Lord's Alliance in the Forgotten Realms setting is a loose confederacy of cities, while the Mror Holds in the Eberron campaign setting is a confederacy of allied dwarf clans. So these might be individual city-states or families that have an agreement for a general, like, will get along, but each of them will rule themselves internally, ceding some power to a central authority. And in fact, this might play very well into the history, the religion, a little bit of both, or who knows what else for a summertime holiday. Pardon. One of our villainous inspirations for a holiday is Mayhem. She wants to utterly destroy a bloodline or a clan. Now, if any of you are new here, you are going to see this effect come to play. It's called Iwi. It writes itself. Some channel have Owos. Others have Uwus. In fact, we do have an Uwu. There you go. We have one Uwu. But mostly here, we have Iwi. That stands for It Writes Itself. And you're going to see this happen because we are randomly generating our content, and yet it is going to work. Trust in yourself to connect the dots. Sarah. Now, let's head back over to our settlements. In most any place you live, it could be your town or city, it could be your county or an equivalent, it could be your state, province, or some other equivalent, or it could be your country. Pardon. I'm sure you can name at least 3 identifying aspects of the people who live there. If we're talking about a small town, it might be the fountain dedicated to the pioneer, like the in Springfield in The Simpsons. In the town square, they have Jebediah Springfield, right there in the town. The nuclear power plant might be another landmark that defines Springfield. And then the Springfield Gorge as well. So there, if I were to say, I want you to describe Springfield in 3 qualities, in 3 landmarks or things that the people there have built, how would you do that? It could be a park, a national forest. It could be an old abandoned castle that no one lives in except the ghosts, and it's arguable that they're living. But all of you on any of these tiers can describe where you live with at least 3 different unique places. And maybe you want more, maybe you want less. I try and go for 3. 2 are going to be monuments. 1 is going to be a weird locale. Something that's a little strange, kind of like the haunted house. Sierra Echo. Oh, Sierra went into lurk mode. Okay. Sorry, I got talking too much. Who else is hanging out here? Jurassic Spark, are you still here? Amon Ishtar, are you here? Who might still be lurking? Xbox Aaron, are you here? Do we have Capodrazi, JK Hunter? Who else has spoken up here? Oh, all right, Sierra, I need a 1d20 roll before you go to bed, please. I'd like you to give us our first monument. Lands on 15. A great stone wall in ruins. All right, thank you, Sierra. You have done your duty. From Ohio to Western Ohio, I salute you and give you finger guns. Okay, so we also have Kragar, Black Kevin, and Iron Chef Lord. All right, then unless any of you use your inspiration points to lock in something. Oh, Rosa. Thank you, Rosa. I will continue to earn that sub for as long as you're willing to consider applying it. And know that with you subscribing, you are making this place stronger and friendlier. And when we do special events like our pre-painted box giveaway every month, that kind of support and show to this channel and community, it is expressed in events like that. All right, so Kragar, I need a 1d20 roll in chat, please. Exclamation point, 1d20. By the way, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, we're on page 108, if you're playing along at home. All right, 13. Oh, a ruined or toppled statue of a person or deity. Kragar, let's get a little bit more definition. That is going to help us with our holiday, I think. I would like you to roll me D12. Exclamation point, 1d12. 1 through 6, it is a person. 7 through 12, it is a deity. And if you get a 13, it's your choice. You rolled an 8. All right, this is a... we got to determine if it's ruined or toppled. That can play into things as well. So let's have you roll a D8 now. 1 through 4, it's ruined. 5 through 8, it's toppled. All right, we have a ruined statue of a deity. Well, this place must be old or abandoned or refound or something. And as we have a lot of ruins. Now, if it was toppled might be more indicative of a social uprising, of a war, or something that wasn't quite so abandoned. Now, ruined could indicate an ancient war, but this is more of it crumbled and just hasn't been tended to. Where toppled is more of an active, this was purposely done. Again, if you want to talk about something that writes itself, what did we have for three of our characters? Well, Rosa, despite the sound of my voice, because I have a little bit of confunk from the retailer conference I went to, thank you for finding this place. Do we share a Discord server, or were we recommended to you? What brought you to the Hero Zone? So despite my voice, I'm glad that you are able to understand what I'm conveying. And Rosa, I will call on you for a role here very soon to help with this interactive workshop. But we have an elderly personification or a person. It could be a person or a personification. We have an ancient person or personification. This led to an initial concept of maybe this culture venerates the elderly, or there might be some kind of ancestor worship. But 2 of our characters were old. And by that, I mean 3 of our characters, because we had an ancient undead half-elf character that was looking to take down maybe the families, or to challenge this confederacy of city-states or clans. This could have led to the ruin. Or we even entertain that one of our personages or personifications was young. Was this the brashness of youth? This was something that was going to bring about destroying a bloodline or clan, because this devoted lover had lost her true love, and so this villainous inspiration for a holiday was just hellbent on bringing something down from the past. And what could this indicate for the now of this place? Because there are modern cities that still have ruins throughout them, around them, or just on the outskirts. or even on the inside of the city. The ruins might very well be, either a historical district that's preserved. It could be, the slums or the barrios. It could be the aesthetic. If you go to Ravnica and you go more specifically to the, I want to say the Celestia and or red and green. Why am I not Boros? That is red and white, red and green. What was the red-green pact from Ravnica? Dimir, Boros, oh, Sawtooth. I have some It Writes Itself for you from last night. The Gruul are the green black. They're the ones who live in the sewers. I mean, that might apply to an extent. Let's see. It has the Rubble Belt Stalker, which is the lizard folk or the Viashino character in the miniature line. They tend to be rebels. They tend to be kind of street gang style. Oh my gosh, this is... they probably do too. That might very well apply. Red, green. No, not color blindness. Red, green. Ravnica Pact. Oh no, I guess I'm sorry. The Gruul. The Gruul are red, green. Then wait, what's the black green then? Golgari. The other G. Golgari. Wow. I swear I own a game store. Oh my gosh, everyone. Yeah, the Golgari. But yeah, you're correct about the Gruul. Rosa says, not too familiar with D&D and how it works. And after watching Critical Role, I noticed your stream and decided to hop in. Well, Rosa, we primarily teach D&D. As an extension of a friendly local game store, we welcome newcomers. And it is very much literally my job to welcome you to the hobby, to answer any questions, no matter how noob, how dumb, quote unquote, you think they are. You are among friends. We were all new to this hobby at some point in time, and that fact is never forgotten here. Hobbies and cultural customs like storytelling and role-playing are passed on generation to generation. And generation doesn't even mean a physical age. Rosa, you may be my age or older. I'm going on 22. But that doesn't matter. If you are the new generation of role player, I mean, yeah, D&D player specifically, but of storyteller, of role player. It's important that if you had that gumption, that chutzpah, the moxie, to step over that threshold into the game store or into the virtual friendly local game store here, that you find that this is a place of creativity, of mentoring, of sharing ideas, and of building things. Because it's far too often that it is easy to destroy, to take down, and to criticize. And I really enjoy building here. It is a much more difficult thing, and it can take time to learn and build a rapport and be comfortable. But every time you come here, you have a seat at our tables. You can ask questions, and I want you to participate. You can sit back and lurk if you so desire. But know that you are appreciated, and anytime you want to raise your hand and ask a question, then myself and or others in chat can get back with you too. And if you use Discord, you're welcome to join us there. We keep things here PG-13, just like how I ask people to conduct themselves in the physical store. We can explore heavier topics, but it's always with context to make sure that things never get out of control and that we're keeping our focus on understanding differences or understanding a problem or various solutions such that we can interpret it and apply it to the stories that we may want to run. Whether it's a story of overcoming a hardship or a conflict, or we want to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, or we want to explore ideas that we may not personally hold, but it can help us understand other people that we may not normally get along with for some reason. Hey, Antarctic Doctor. You want to play Pathfinder and Starfinder someday? Well, if you make a listing in our LFG section on Discord, there might be people who are willing to help out with that. Pardon. Sawtooth, you had said that the blue dragons are not simply like water dragons or coastal dragons, that they are desert dragons. And I'm very happy to report to you that the location in which this summertime holiday is taking place does have a desert biome to it. So Sawtooth, you must have had a prognostication. I try not to prognosticate on camera. Unless you're a tier 3 sub, then you get the special camera. But you have Sawtooth. You have pointed out the manifestation of it writes itself once more. Antarctic Doctor, as long as it's PG-13, puns, innuendo, wordplay, dad jokes or whatever, those are always welcome. You can always joke about that. That's what keeps me young. That's why I'm only going to be 22 years old whenever my next birthday is in 3 years. Now, Raven, we're going to hop down to our weird locale. If you're playing along at home, we're on page 109 in your Dungeon Master's Guide. I know you all brought your books to class, yeah? It's okay. If you got to share your book, then share your book. So, Ravenstar, exclamation point 1d20. Lands on a 4. A boulder carved with talking faces. Now, the boulder carved with talking faces. Is this something that is spiritual? Is it connected to spirits of the land, spirits of the dead? Is it actually an artistic piece where someone carved a boulder to look like an open singing mouth that the desert wind passes through? And maybe there's like a harmonica or wind chimes or something inside, and from the mouth of the boulder emerges some summertime song. When the winds from wherever, the summertime winds blow in through the special entrance carved in the boulder. Or, similar to Mount Rushmore, do the faces look like they're talking, but they actually do not produce any sounds? It just it looks like faces having a conversation. There's many ways we can interpret this. We can take one step to the side, but we're going to keep this concept is a part of things. Now, can this relate back to any of our characters? Well, one of our personifications or personas does speak in rhyme or in a peculiar way. If this is a personification, could that be the summertime winds that shift and blow in from somewhere? Could this be the personification or person that was prone to singing, whistling, or humming quietly? Could this be the other character that we made? Maybe not the villain here so much, unless the talking faces were actually spreading lies, and this was a warning about that. Or our other villain, who uses flowery speech or long words. Very interesting. Your books are too old? Are your books at the point, Iron Chef, where if you open them, like the spine will just like crinkle, crackle, and disintegrate? Or make an almost cartoonish, like... I can't even do it, my voice. Hey, Ryufu Silverlight. Ravenstar, may I please have a shout out to a fellow streamer and workshopper, Ryufu Silverlight? All right, let's get back to our settlement. Now, who lives here? And I would like Rosa, will you please roll a 1d9 in chat? And that 1d9 is, well, actually, we're just going to go over to, we're going to go here. Type exclamation point 1d9. Hi, Rosewolf. Good to see you. Now, again, when we're coming up with considerations, if your world is filled with only elves, maybe this isn't really a step that you need to take. And instead of looking at, well, we have a world of dragonborn and dwarves and halflings and everything, everyone's an elf. And it just might be a breakdown of another cultural tenet. Oh, Rosa, do we still have you? If you're here, would you please type exclamation point, the number 1, the letter D as in doggo, and the number 9. I mean, Sawtooth, our world is filled with humans. Why couldn't there be only elves? All right, well, we might have lost Rosa, so we'll keep things moving along here. Hi, Rumcast, good to see you. Yeah, only elves charges too much each month. Ryufu Silverlight, will you please give me a 1d9 roll in chat? Four. Gnomes. Now, in case it matters, I suppose we can look. I mean, we know that there's gnomes. Maybe it's both. If you would prefer to keep your gnomes regional, in some way, then that's fine. But just in case, why don't we look at this, Ryufu? Give me a 1d12 roll in chat. Exclamation point 1d12. Odds forest, evens rock. Evens. It's a rock gnome. Pardon me. All right. Rosewolf of the Book Devouring Horde. I would like you to give me a 1d 9 roll in chat, please. Lands on a 2. Dwarves. All right. And give me a 1d8 roll in chat, Rosewolf. Odds hill, evens mountain. Hill. Okay. Now, how do they get along? Yeah, perhaps they dug underground to keep warm from the Arctic desert. That could very well be. Maybe that's why things on the top side are ruined. Because of the scathing winds that could have come about from something. But how do our dwarves and gnomes get along? Sawtooth, may I please have a 1d20 roll in chat? Lands on a 4. They live in harmony. Now, when we take a look at words such as dominant or minority here, these are considerations for anything from just sheer quantity to political power, cultural influence. But between the two, and you might have a very metropolitan territory or city where it is everyone lives, everyone who is in your world lives there. Again, for the purposes of having a concise presentation, I keep it to 2 possibly different ones. And then we can see how everything is getting along together. All right, Lead Snappin', you'd like to roll. What is the ruler status of our desert confederacy of city-states here? In fact, I can take us from the highlands. I'll take us to a dwarven city. Let me find it here real quick. Well, that's a volcano. Not quite there. I mean, there could be a volcano. Boy, there's so many tracks now. It's not a bad problem to have. Let me filter this down. Oh no, where did my Dwarven City music go? Ah, there it is. Okay. All right. The ruler's status is 3. Respected, fair, and just. Okay. Now, what is our notable... Ryufu, I'm glad for it too. When I first started, there was almost no one, and that's why I struck that niche 6 years ago. And it's great to see that a lot of people are moving into the teaching and the production side of things. Now, what is a notable trait about this region? Rip Artist, may I please have a 1d20 roll in chat? Lands on an 18. All right, let's determine if it's a library or academy. Rip Artist, roll 1d6. On a 1, 2, or 3, it's a library. On a 4, 5, or 6, it's an academy. All right, it is a notable academy. Wait a minute, wasn't there someone who was, oh yeah, an ideal of knowledge, but also our other villain, did our other villain have, oh, I think it was an NPC, the one with the perfect memory. But this is linking back to the 4 randomly generated characters we've already made. The story's going to write itself, everyone. Now, this area is known for what? Black Kevin, may I please have a 1d20 roll in chat? Exclamation point, 1d20. $15. Wines. This place is known for its wines. You know, earlier we had someone that said he was making, I believe it was a blackberry mead and also an apple mead. Mead can be a wine as well. There could be a specialized grape or something, a berry or something else as well. But this place produces some fine wines. Maybe there's a... Oh, hey! I knows you, M-Star. Yes? You want to maybe all hang out together? Says our prize goblin. There we go. So thank you very much, M. All right, Iron Chef Lord. What is the current calamity facing these people? I need a 1d20 roll from you to help us determine that. M, welcome to the Hero Zone, and I'm glad that you're liking the step-by-step process that I'm demonstrating. Lands on a 20. Oh my goodness. Religious sects struggle for power. And what was it that our randomly generated personification or religious or an actual person from history? We had someone trying to contact a lost deity through politics, espionage, or spying. Or politics, but mainly espionage or spying. We have someone who is a noble. Now, this is interesting, right? We have a half-elf. We also have a high elf and a tiefling, as well as a dragonborn as these personifications. And you might go, all right, well, we know that dwarves and gnomes live here. What are these other characters? Well, what if dragonborn actually don't exist in this area? And it's simply a way to draw a monster, a Krampus-style figure, you know, a cryptid, or it's a part of the story that this young lover was twisted by her revenge, and so took on lizard-like qualities. And so, while we understand in D&D terms the mechanical concept of a dragonborn, there's nothing saying that the dragonborn here isn't a dwarf that isn't a dwarf that had changed or mutated over time as part of a moral or a fable or folklore or a religious parable. Or, as we determined in our two monuments, remember, these were both randomly generated, and the story writes itself in our workshop. This area is suffused with ruins. A great stone wall in ruins, as well as a ruined statue of a deity, showing abandonment, no repair. Maybe it was recently uncovered by the shifting winds or something. What if these characters, these elves, tiefling, dragonborn, are the people who used to live here? In fact, what if I were to be so audacious to say that the dragonborn and the tieflings are actually the same? It's just that in some of the anthropomorphic fossils found, some skeletons had tails and others didn't. Or maybe dragonborn have tails in your world. It's up to you. But otherwise, there's commonalities. Some of these characters had horns, others didn't. Some had tails, some didn't. And there was some kind of a different type of people with a different bone structure that lived with these other very horny people. I'm talking about the ones up here, everyone. Come on now. Yeah, Sawtooth says Fafnir the dragon was originally a dwarf that got too greedy. Yeah, the dwarves and gnomes might have explored and just came in later. Absolutely. If everything is in ruins, maybe something happened that they weren't prepared for, a weather shift, some type of a calamity or something like that. And that we might actually be seeing history repeating itself. The ghosts of the past are coming back now that there's been life brought back to our world. We can consider it. Rip Artist says, in my world, everyone has tails and some have more than one. Now, our town name, it might not just be a town. It might just be, if we're talking about a confederacy with several towns, we could repeat this process for each, each clan or city-state that is joined together by giving some of their power to a central authority, but retaining most of it to themselves. So I'm not worried about the name right now. But we do have, many towns, unless you're in a hamlet is a village without a church, by definition. And then you're a town if you're a hamlet with a church, if you get what I'm saying. Many places, whether you're in a big city or if you go out to the countryside, there's a church on it seems like every corner. If you go out, not even to the suburbs, but even to rural countryside, or you might find, shrines along the roads, other temples or places of worship, sacred groves, who knows. So for the purposes of this locale, what is going to be the primary religious building that we're going to be concerned about? And let's see, who has not... M-Star. Oh, you have... All right, M-Star's taken off. All right, well, thank you for finding us, M-Star. Let's call on Dragon MDK. Are you still here? Dragon, I would like a 1d20 roll in chat, please. Stops on a 1. All right. Now I need you to roll a d10. 1 through 5, it's a good deity. 6 through 10, it's a neutral deity. I need you to roll a 1d10 now in chat, please. Temple to a good deity. Excellent. Now, there's also usually many places to eat, to find drink or comfort or company, or sometimes a little bit of everything. Again, what is going to be a major social place for us to consider? Either as a hub for information or adventure, or, well, you'll see. Maybe with greater specificity why I'm looking for a culturally significant inn or tavern or pillow house or whatever else. Who has not rolled yet? Rumcask, are you still here? Rumcask, are you here? Otherwise, let's see. Who might be hanging out still that hasn't rolled yet? Anarchic Doctor? I don't think you've gotten a roll. Are you still with us, Doctor? All right, Doctor, I need you to type exclamation point 1D20 in chat. No spaces. Number 1, D is in doggo, number 20. Lands on a 10. A Thieves Guild hangout. So it might have another face to present, but this is actually a very significant part of this culture, of this confederacy, is actually a Thieves Guild hangout. And this may very well fall back into the fact that we have a criminal mastermind as one of our villainous personifications, as well as a thief, rogue, and noble as our other villain. And it could be an overt one, or that could just be what happens if you have the special password to get into the right entrance. I hope you can see that despite us randomly pulling elements out of the ether, our story is coming together. Now, Kragar, I would like you to type exclamation point 2D20. Exclamation point 2D20. Led Snap, and I'm happy to be here and to teach. 9 and 17 from Kragar. The name of this place is called the Slaughtered Satyr. The Slaughtered Satyr. Now, if you go, I mean, any establishment, it could be a business, it could be a restaurant, it could be whatever. There is a reason for the name. A very obvious one, many professional firms like accounting and law firms are named after the primary partners. If we take a look at Lord of the Rings, do you all remember the famous tavern in Bree? What was the name of the tavern in Bree? Oh yeah, it was the Prancing Pony. You do seem to be correct. I am sounding horse rip artist. So the type of tavern is up here, Kevin, and the tavern name generator is below it. We're on page 113 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. So we have to ask ourselves, someone named this place the Slaughtered Satyr. Now, why is this? Does the culture or several of the cultures have the same concept of a satyr that we do? Well, as far as we know, humans don't exist. So let's take a look at what is the concept of a satyr. A satyr is a half humanoid, half maybe goat. I mean, sometimes it might be a different lower half, who tends to like entertaining people. We have some kind of a half one, half the other creature that entertains, might even practice trickery. Well, and that's even if we want it to be a goat. Now, to us in our human world, a goat is a defining quality of a satyr. What if that half? So we have an elf, perhaps an elf, and what else? What are some other creatures that might have, backwards knees? Instead of being plantigrade with their feet, they're digitigrade, where they're on their toes and their backwards knee is their ankle, located further back up. Well, a concept of these, it could be a deer, but consider this as well. Oh, a tiefling. A tiefling, but a tiefling that might be a dragonborn as well, from the skeletons we found. Tieflings and dragonborn may very well be digitigrade in this world. And of course, we know that we have elves and even half-elves. What if a half-elf is a satyr or a concept of a satyr to these people? That would mean that this character here, who is a half-elf, may very well be an undead satyr, quote, satyr in concept, in construct, but is custom built for our original world we're presenting to our players. I don't want to use Thrycreen simply because I'm trying to stick to the core rule books. But if any of you are following the procedure and you want to include any other source books in your roles or your consideration, you are welcome to do so. But for purposes of this exercise tonight, I'm keeping it core rulebook only. So, in this instance, we have the Slaughtered Satyr. Might have been a burial spot for even finding the remains of that undead. Who knows? That tiefling followed a trickery deity because she was, or maybe is, a trickery cleric. Several of the characters. One has flamboyant or outlandish clothes, speaks in rhyme or some peculiar way, prone to singing, whistling, or humming. Curious. Her ideal is change and chaos. Enjoys decadent pleasures, like wine. And what are our Greek-inspired satyrs usually found enjoying? I hope you can see where all of these prompts, when taken step by step and given just a minute of thought, come together. They're all satyrs. How long has it taken us to realize that many dinosaurs probably had feathers and they looked nothing like what we originally thought? Because if you look at a cat skull and you use that for what you think a cat looks like alone, if you've never seen a cat before and I showed you a cat skull or a bird skull or an alligator skull, you would probably be baffled at what the actual creature appeared as. All right, be well, Craigar. Thank you for hanging out. So, I'm going to get up. I need to refresh myself as I'm out of refreshment. When we come back, let's map it out. And I'm going to use a complex and expensive art program known as MS Paint in order to go through some geology, some geography, and show you a way to start laying things out in order to continue to get ideas for this holiday. So, give me a moment. Here is our break screen. We're in summertime, but you can see springtime, winter, and here in a couple weeks, you're going to get to see our autumn break screen. But for now, enjoy summer and its bounty, everyone. And have a good night, Black Kevin.